What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on today's video. So, since you guys really enjoyed my previous DC News Roundup video, I thought, right, it might very well become a series because today I'm bringing a second installment in that, and we've got quite a few topics to cover, so it might be a bit of a lengthy video, but as always, I do want to let you know this video will be timestamped because we're going to get into several different things, you know, Batgirl movie news, the larger DC multiverse teases, some blue Beetle movie updates, 3 new HBO Max shows, and a very new exclusive story from the Rolling Stone that only just dropped discussing fake accounts fueling the Snyder Cut online army, as well as some rumors on Joker 2, Folie à Deux. I thought I'd chuck some of that in there, and more, believe it or not. So quite a lot to get into. I hope you enjoy this video. As I mentioned, timestamps should be visible on the video bar, but if you want to go into the top pinned comment or the description, they will be there as well, or feel free to stick around for the whole video because I think all of these topics will interest you. Let's start off with the most recent. I thought that makes the most sense, and this literally released last night, and that is a Warner Media report revealing that bots and other inauthentic users bolstered the fan-led campaign for director Zack Snyder's Justice League do-over. This was kind of a little bit of a random story to come out as, it, you know, just in terms of how it's being investigated now, I suppose, because it has been a while since the Snyder Cut came out, but I suppose it's of course a story that will always bring attention, as it comes to no surprise that everyone has heard about the rally behind the Snyder Cut. And even with this story coming out, the big response for the most part, because I wanted to look into what a lot of people were saying on social media hashtags and various different sources, the big response that I've read so far for the most part is, well, of course, they use bots to bolster their numbers, but I don't care, I got a movie out of it. As well as other various somewhat sarcastic replies of, oh, you know, shock, or this was obvious to everyone, right? But at the same time, we're not, you know, invalidating that there obviously was a huge fandom behind that of trying to get the Snyder Cut released. Now, without me reading the whole Rolling Stone article out to you because it is quite a long one, Rolling Stone do summarize their article on Twitter, so I'm going to read out the main beats, which are as follows. We spoke with 20 plus people involved with both the original Justice League and Zack Snyder's cut, most of whom believe that the director was working to manipulate the ongoing campaign. Snyder claims that if anyone was pulling the strings, it was Warner Brothers. In spring 2020, Zack Snyder repeatedly demanded that the names of the 2 producers, Jeff Johns and John Berg, be removed from his Justice League recut. In June, he allegedly confronted an executive and issued a threat, "I will destroy them," on social media. They go on to say that 2 firms contacted by the Rolling Stone that track the authenticity of social media campaigns spotted inauthentic activity coming from the Snyderverse community. One source says Zack was like a Lex Luthor wreaking havoc. The groundwork for the Snyderverse siege had been laid well before 2020. One source tells Rolling Stone the director hired a digital marketing firm to juice fan engagement in 2016 when Batman vs Superman was savaged by critics. Snyder denies the claim. Now, as I said, and I do want to heavily emphasize this, that is just very brief tweet summaries that Rolling Stone put under the article link. There is tons and tons and tons and tons of investigations. I do recommend reading this for yourself, just due to the ton more detail and context, the chronology, going over events with regards to the 2 reports commissioned by Warner Media that were recently obtained by Rolling Stone, and then just how he gets into more specific claims of weaponizing this movement. My bottom line on it is that either way, with this report, as random as it is, with this investigation coming up, we got the Snyder Cut. Fans are happy, granted they want to see the continuation of the Snyderverse. It's not really to anyone's surprise, especially from what I'm gathering, that even on some level, there were bots involved in, you know, just rallying the numbers. And due to the Warner Media report, it claims in how at least 13% of the accounts that took part in the conversation about the Snyder Cut were deemed fake, well above the 3 to 5% that cyber experts say they typically see on any trending topic. But that again shows that even while there was bolstering, there's still an insanely large amount of loyal fans who just wanted to see the cut released. So there is no denying that insanely authentic, strong movement that was there. Again, a little bit of a random one to start off the DC news roundup for today. Didn't really expect this investigation article to come out about, you know, the rally behind the Snyder Cut and how the studio were trapped into a corner to release it and whatnot. But again, make your mind up for yourself. Read the report. It'll be linked in the top pinned comment. But let's now move on to some Batgirl news. And this is very, very interesting. And there's a few aspects of news that we're going to get into today regarding the release date and some director's comments about what universe this takes place in, as well as a special possible DC character who could be appearing in a post-credit scene. So let's first start off with the release date of Batgirl. And as many of us were thinking, Batgirl apparently, according to new reports, is going to be released in 2023. Now, this is due to an updated film release schedule sent out from Warner Brothers to UK press regarding 2023 theatrical releases, and it is slated Batgirl for release in UK cinemas in 2023. Now, the reason why I emphasize UK cinemas is because obviously the UK doesn't have HBO Max, yet the US does. And there's nothing as of right now when I'm reporting this to you with regards to a US Batgirl release going from HBO Max to theaters akin to what Blue Beetle did. But for the UK, that is happening. And also, I find it interesting that they've decided to go with a UK release date in cinemas for Batgirl in 2023, because despite the UK not having HBO Max, Warner Bros. And DC always usually find a way to release it in a digital format as well. For example, when the Snyder Cut released, that was available on HBO Max. Oh crap, we don't have that over here. However, what they did is what they do already with a lot of things, is they release it on Sky in the UK, who have their own streaming platform. Used to be known as Now TV. I believe it rebranded to just Now. So they could have done that, but it seems like they've decided against it, and it will release in theaters in the UK in 2023. But now I'm thinking, as a result of this, that this could also indeed apply to the US too, but we don't have any confirmation of that right now. The reason why I'm saying this is because, as I just mentioned, they could have released it on Now TV, come up with a deal there to distribute it in the UK, but they're like, no, actually, we could have done that like we did with the Snyder Cut, but we're going to put it in theaters. So, you know, because of that reason, they could also in the US release it in theaters as well. I could be completely wrong about that. I'm just throwing that out there. It's a possibility now due to the UK thing. They could also release it on HBO Max day and date with US theater release as well. So you never know. I'm just wondering if they're going to release that at some point in time. But as of the general release date of 2023, this is not remotely surprising to me. It was a bit of a topic of discussion when we got news quite a while back now regarding that The Flash was delayed to June 23rd, 2023, and we had all of these release date shifts with DC movies. But the fascinating thing about that back then is everyone was noticing, why haven't they announced that Batgirl hasn't been delayed from 2022 to 2023? I was saying the whole time, I still think it's gotta be 2023. I can't tell you why they didn't announce it with all the other DC movie release date changes, but you have to think they are, because no matter what, it was and has and always been intended to be a somewhat, as I always say, repercussion of Flashpoint. Because of what Barry Allen does, messing with the timeline, the multiversal stuff, and everything that Warner Brothers wants to use the Flash movie as an excuse with regards to a soft reboot, it wouldn't have made sense for Batgirl to release before the Flash movie, but some fans were speculating that maybe they could do some weird story thing where it still does work, but I just still scratched my head with that one. But here we are, 2023, it makes sense. Keaton comes back in the Flash movie. The Flash movie is going to be somewhat that soft reboot of the DCEU, out with some old, in with some new, and keeping some the same, like Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot. So it only makes sense for it to release afterwards. But up next, with regards to the Batgirl movie, or should I say the directors, they have teased the new multiverse arrival. And what I mean by that is the new DCEU that will be facilitated by the Flash movie's release. So after their success with their episodes on Ms. Marvel, they've got quite a bit to say about this, and the Direct.com, in an exclusive interview with the directors of Batgirl, Bilal Fallah and Adil El Arbi, teased how the DC multiverse will make its presence felt in their upcoming movie. So let's read out exactly what the Direct.com got out of the directors and break down exactly what this means, because it's sparking quite a bit of discussion. But for me, I'm seeing it, I feel like, straightforward with what we already know. Well, you know, we'd sort of give the same answer, because we would also ask, oh, you have J.K. Simmons from the Snyderverse, and we got Michael Keaton from the Burtonverse. What's the situation here? And they would say, don't worry about it, we got a plan. They never really explained that aspect to us, but I guess you're gonna have to see the other movies to understand what happens. Why the reason is that we ended up in sort of a spaghetti of multiverses in that aspect. It's gonna be a delicious spaghetti, I'm sure of that. Now, I feel I know exactly what they're talking about there, and I'm pretty sure you've probably grasped it as well. DC is saying to them, like, don't worry, we've got a plan, but, you know, as a result, we're kind of ending up in, okay, we've got this person from here, J.K. Simmons from Batfleck's run, and as I've said many, many times as well, we've basically almost got spoilers for the universe after the Flash movie with that of Batgirl filming, or just even cast announcements. As the directors say, we've got the Commissioner Gordon from Batfleck run in the Batgirl movie, which is continuity-wise set after the Flash movie. Yet the Batman now in the DCEU is Michael Keaton's Batman. Yet this wasn't his Commissioner Gordon. So all while we have Keaton coming back as Batman and his suit will largely be the same, albeit a little subtly upgraded, there's some changes from his Burton Batman into this post-Flash movie universe as well. Because, you know, if you take into account that his Gordon wasn't J.K. Simmons, it's largely borrowing the Burton Michael Keaton Batman, but again, some sort of spaghetti multiverse changes being crammed into the new DCEU from here on out. Then we have to take into account Sasha Calle's Supergirl and other various characters. So bottom line for me, their comment of we ended up in sort of a spaghetti of multiverses, it's kind of precisely that. Warner Brothers and DC, as I've always tried to heavily emphasize, are using this Flash movie as their low-key soft reboot, their new 52 to rebirth, if you will, keeping some things like Momoa's Aquaman and Gadot's Wonder Woman still in this universe, likely sending off or saying goodbye to Affleck, potentially keeping him still relevant, like the Snyderverse might go into its own bubble universe, so technically it still exists, but the new, you know, DCEU Prime will be like this one with Keaton. So the spaghetti reference is the best analogy for this, and what they mean by watching other movies first is that watching the Flash movie will give you that context, and this is why there's been a lot of talk about the Flash movie with all the Ezra Miller news, is that with how important this is to DC and Warner Brothers, it is a big shame that all of these arrests and, you know, negative attention is surrounding the Flash movie when arguably it was meant to be their kind of golden goose to set the precedent for the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 plus years of however long they got to strive to keep a continuity in that of the DCEU. Now, the very last thing about the Batgirl movie news that I want to talk about here is more of a, I guess you could say, rumor, but there have been test screenings recently that are giving out some various information, and I'm not going to give all of the bits and pieces out rather than just that of the special appearance. Now, if you don't want to hear anything about that, even though it might not be true, feel free to skip to the next chapter that we're only really just about to get to. For me, it's not a really big deal because this particular character is extremely likely and has been rumored and speculated about appearing ever since day one of Batgirl's announcement. But now we've got some more firm accounts out of test screenings, apparently, that this person will indeed be involved. So let's now get into that. So, this mystery character who is supposedly, and also there's been other like hints just on various Twitter posts for like even back since 2021, but either way, this person who could be appearing at the end and possibly in a post-credit scene could very well be Black Canary, of which, to be honest, I think could be a very true rumor in my opinion. As this, you know, is in the new phase of the DCEU, Batgirl's got a release after the Flash movie, sometime after it. This post-credit scene with Black Canary, it makes sense to me as a post-credit scene because her heavy involvement in the Batgirl movie, there's just not really a place for that. This is Batgirl, Brendan Fraser's Firefly, Michael Keaton. So for her to come in like right at the end, you know, makes sense. It could also set up her Black Canary movie that they are working on right now for the DCEU. Apparently as well, that I've reported on recently, there's some Green Arrow rumors that he could be appearing in the Black Canary movie. I hope to God that is true, because that could also splinter off to his own movie in this new DCEU. And, you know, since we have an old man Keaton Batman now, I feel like there is room for a new, younger, billionaire-esque playboy Oliver Queen vigilante. So that's diving into a whole other topic. I do recommend checking out my Green Arrow coming to the DCEU video that I uploaded not so long ago. But yeah, just wanted to talk about that rumor as well. Wouldn't surprise me if it is true with Black Canary, because she does have a movie that is in active development. Okay, so the next news is that if you're a fan of James Gunn's work so far in the DCEU, then you're gonna probably love this, and that is that James Gunn only a few days ago said that he is working on not one, not two, but 3 new HBO Max shows. So this is the quote as follows: "We actually are working on a few different shows," the director revealed. "I'm working on like 3 new shows now with HBO Max Network in various phases of development. But, you know, the heart and soul is, of course, Peacemaker." So if you're a big fan of Peacemaker like myself, I really, like, that show subverted expectations. Unlike probably anything I've experienced in a long time. It is so good. If you haven't seen Peacemaker and you kind of went out of the Suicide Squad being like, you know, he's a right character, but like really a Peacemaker show? Trust me, watch it. It's hilarious. But it's good to know, and I'm happy to know that that is still the heart and soul that they're cracking on with. But it's also very interesting to me to see that there's 3 other shows entirely that are being cooked up, and we could very well have a good clue as to what 2 of these HBO Max shows are. So the first one is that it was rumored that one of the 3 shows could be a spin-off show from Viola Davis's character Amanda Waller off the back of Peacemaker, which would be interesting because, to be honest, I don't really want to get into too many spoilers for those who haven't seen Peacemaker, but with what her daughter does at the end of that, and what that meant for Amanda Waller, and you probably know if you've seen the finale, that would be certainly interesting to see where that could go. Plus, Amanda Waller is a very big character in DC Comics. I'm sure it would get into all of the, you know, various Argus things that she handles and everything like that, so I definitely could see the merit in that show and everything that could bring, because James Gunn would definitely bring in new DC characters of whom Amanda Waller would be working with. So that is a very possible rumor, apparently. But there is something else that we could be getting out of another HBO Max shows, and that is in June, James Gunn teased a mystery project with a photo of Peter Capaldi in costume as the Thinker, and this is what it was captioned: "I can't wait to tell you all the big plans we currently have in play." So I would say there's quite a, you know, likelihood that, considering that we're now hearing about 3 HBO Max shows, one of them being rumored to be about Amanda Waller, one of the other 2, considering what you just said in that caption, "I can't wait to tell you all the big plans we currently have in play," with a bloody picture of Peter Capaldi's Thinker, that we could be getting a show about the Thinker. I could be wrong about that. It could be a prequel show about the Thinker with other characters. It could be a show with other characters in general. Maybe the Thinker went on other missions before the Suicide Squad for Amanda Waller. Who knows? Either way, though, it is possible that this could be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. Now, very briefly, just wanted to chuck this in here as we're talking about James Gunn and Peacemaker in general. It is being reported by WrestleZone and other areas that heavily cover the wrestling world side of things that Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reports that over the next few months, John Cena is expected to be in Vancouver heavily to film the 2nd season of HBO Max's Peacemaker series. Ross Sapp noted that the filming isn't set to begin for a while, but the specific time frame is unclear. So if that is true, Peacemaker Season 2 should maybe be filming over the next, well, at least begin filming at any point in the next few months, which, you know, kind of makes sense. It, you know, links to what James Gunn said with being the heart and soul and whatnot. And with the success of Peacemaker, it wouldn't surprise me if that's true. And I am definitely looking forward to seeing what other crazy, hilarious things they cook up. So up next, before we get onto some more actual solid news, let's go over a rumor. Now, the reason why I'm chucking this in this video, despite it being, like, seriously, it's one of those rumors that is, like, more than half the time, these types of ones are wrong. But a lot of you have been asking me, since I do cover Joker 2 on the channel, what do I think of this if true? So I thought I would entertain it. You know, I do love talking about the potential dark story of the Joker 2 Folie à Deux musical and, you know, what that could mean. I do want to suggest taking this with a huge, insane level of a grain of salt, a freaking boulder of salt. First off, a couple of warnings, obviously potential spoilers, because you never know if something like this is true, but also potentially trigger warning for some of the various descriptions that I might read out here, but at the same time, for demonetization purposes, I will be using different words for a couple of them, or maybe not using them at all, because YouTube is very, very sensitive about describing certain things, but you will most certainly get the idea. So let's now read what this person had to say. So, some details about Joker 2. So the script has been floating around for the last few weeks among industry people, and some of the people around me have read it. Here's what I 100% know is in the script. Arthur Fleck, Joaquin, escapes prison/asylum, Arkham Asylum, and goes on a killing rampage before meeting Lady Gaga's character, in brackets, who is not Harley Quinn. I don't know where the media got that from. Who is extremely deranged as well, but in her own way. The dynamic between the two is not a straightforward romance, it's more of a Tom and Jerry type situation. If this script is anything to go by, the film is 50 times more violent than any other mainstream comic book movie we've seen. The body count is through the roof, and the deaths are extremely gruesome. There's multiple decapitations, torture scenes, bombs going off, a very Clockwork Orange style scene. I've left out a word there, but it's a 4-letter word. So those of you who have seen that scene, you will know what I mean, with the victim ending up dead. The singing in the rain scene from A Clockwork Orange is the best way to describe the musical aspect of this film. It's not a La La Land, A Star is Born type musical at all, and will make all traditional fans of the musical genre walk out the theater. It also won't be the type of music they're expecting from Lady Gaga at all. I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but let's just say there's not much of a possibility for a third Joker movie. This movie will blow people's minds if shot well. The script is shocking and doesn't even feel like a big budget franchise movie. No way this gets a PG-13 rating. Let's hope the studio doesn't interfere too much. So, let's talk about this one. The no Harley aspect could be true. You never know. The fact that I've been saying from the beginning, I wasn't really going with the other rumors of what if Folie à Deux, a shared madness for two, means that of Bruce Wayne and Joker. No. I always thought like a shared madness would indicate that of Harley. But hey, I could have been half right there, because if, and only if this rumor is true, with this person saying, who is not Harley Quinn, that Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck meets after escaping Arkham, he doesn't know where the media got that from, it could be that Lady Gaga still fulfills the Harley role, if that makes sense. So a madness shared by two, knowing Todd Phillips as well, he might not call the person Harleen Quinzel, he might not even do what we're thinking with regards to him being a therapist in Arkham, only if, again, huge levels of salt here, it seems as though she's not the therapist, and he meets her out there as another deranged person, but the shared madness thing would still be, in essence, a Harley-esque Joker thing that they go out and do, if that makes sense, with all of these violent scenes that are described. So I can't really discredit that in terms of this rumor. Sometimes you can poke holes in it, but since we know so little about this movie and only what was being reported, it did seem as though, oh, you know, Lady Gaga seems like she would be Harley Quinn, especially with the title translated Folie à Deux for a shared madness, you know? But that doesn't mean that Todd Phillips will do that. As we know, this is an Elseworlds Joker story in the first movie. They did stay in line and pay some tribute to like, oh, technically with the Arkham Asylum report, Arthur was adopted, so you don't really know his real name. So there was cool little Joker beats in there. But he did change some things as well, and hinted and insinuated at other things. Was Bruce Wayne really his brother? So in this, Harley, even without being called Harley, Lady Gaga could just, as I keep saying, be the spiritual kind of crazy shared madness person to Arthur Fleck's Joker's madness in all of the anarchy they'll release in Gotham City. As for all of the dark details, and I said that I cut out a couple of words, that wouldn't remotely surprise me. Joker was already dark with some of the things that it did, pretty damn dark in certain scenes, but this drive, especially if Arthur's out there in the city with this, you know, not so straightforward romance, more of a Tom and Jerry type situation, you know, Lady Gaga's character apparently being deranged herself, the body count being through the roof on two clown-like people, especially if it's the Arthur we see at the end of the movie. Yeah, that could be, as they say, 50 times more violent than any other mainstream comic book movie that we've seen. And as I've said this whole time as well, I think this could be the darkest musical ever made. As for what they're saying right at the end, there is not much of a possibility for a third movie. They didn't want to get too into it to not spoil it. Could be true, might not be true. I mean, that's the whole thing about this whole rumor anyway. Might not be true, but that spells to me that they might go out Bonnie and Clyde style, just dying. But I do want to say that Todd Phillips did plan for, I mean, he didn't plan, he pitched it as a 3-movie thing. Obviously, at that point in time, I'm not saying he knew he was going to make 3 movies. He didn't even know if the actors would sign on again and again and again for a third movie. He just had an idea that, hey, this could be 3 movies with 3 different directors. He said in public that he didn't want to reveal the directors he had in mind, just in case that spoils things. So with that, maybe things could have changed, because you could argue with the second movie he might be secretly hoping that a third one could be made. But who knows? If this rumor is true, maybe there's not so much of a possibility without spoiling things for a third Joker movie, they could die. You know, that's probably that. The thing is, guys, I could talk about this forever, but it could just be so easily fake. It really could be. All of these torture scenes, details of bombs going off with Lady Gaga's character and Arthur going out there just having pure madness, if you will, and the madness, if anything, the shared madness, constantly inspiring the others' madness. That sounds like a lot of anarchic Joker-esque, Harley-esque fun, even if she's not Harley. But it might not be true. The reality is that it could still be what some of us were originally speculating, a shared madness with Harleen slowly getting a shared madness, being the Joker's therapist. You never know. Maybe when we learn more about this movie, we'll think back to this video and be like, well, damn. This is starting to sound and look like that rumor we all spoke about in this news roundup video all of those months ago. So let me know your thoughts on this. Personally, my takeaway is that as for all the dark stuff, I'm down with it. Like, it's not going to be a pretty movie in terms of like the dark stuff. Nobody should be surprised at that. It will be R-rated again. But bottom line, I don't hold too much stock in this because of what I keep repeating. It could be complete BS. So let me know what you think, though, assuming it was true, hypothetically speaking. Do you like the sound of what I read out? Let me know. But let's now move on to some Blue Beetle news. So this is kind of brief, but I thought I'd chuck it in here. So after filming for several months, Blue Beetle has officially wrapped production, of which the director on his Instagram story has posted a few little, pictures of this saying that they've made a good movie and it's a wrap that you're seeing on screen right now. Bruna Marquezine also posted to her Instagram a pretty cool look at Xolo Maridueña in his Blue Beetle suit. Now, I know we've seen this before, but it's cool that this was, officially posted, if you will. We get a nice close-up of the Blue Beetle suit. I think it still looks fantastic. Obviously, right here, it's still going to be enhanced with, the post-production, so it will look even better, but it's just nice seeing, a nice little brief extra look at the suit. So, Blue Beetle, it's coming to theaters. It was originally an HBO Max release, and it's wrapped production. Will you guys be going to see this movie in theaters? I'm sure you will. I mean, I'm pretty excited for it, but are you? But now let's move on to the second to last today, and I just thought I'd chuck this out there. I'm sure you've probably already seen it, and that is that the Harley Quinn Season 3 trailers have both released in its normal form, but also a red band form, and it's looking like a whole bunch of fun, as always, especially with Harley and Ivy being together this season. Things just look even crazier with them planning to terraform Gotham. The red band trailer, obviously being a red band trailer, looks absolutely nuts. It doesn't hold back. We've got Joker running for mayor. The terraforming plan of Gotham, bringing nature back to it, that is, it's causing a bit of relationship drama between Harley and Ivy, as I don't think Harley quite realized the scope of Ivy's terraforming plan and the effects that would have on Gotham, with Harley saying in the trailer, "This is so messed up. I don't want everyone in Gotham to die," and Ivy saying, "I thought we were doing this together. Harley, you've changed." So there's going to be a bit of like, oh, what's going on there? As, you know, they're a fresh couple. It looks like the season will start off with them buzzing in their honeymoon period, but it might go a little bit sideways with Ivy's plan. And we've even got some Court of Owls chucked in there. And just overall, the montage of clips in the red band trailer is just absolutely nuts and hilarious fun, so I'm personally looking forward to it. I will likely be doing a review on the channel, but let me know what you're most excited for in Harley Quinn Season 3. Lastly, for the news roundup, it's like a little bit of an addition onto the previous news roundup. I thought I'd chuck it in here. It's going to be brief, but in the last news roundup, we discussed the Black Adam McFarlane toy reveals, of which show a really good look. Granted that they're toy figures, but they still nevertheless give us a really good look at Dr. Fate, to that of even the main villain. And here is the lineup photo of all of the big hitters from Black Adam, Dr. Fate, Atom Smasher, you name it, and the main villain, Sabak. So yeah, just wanted to chuck this one in there for those of you who are being like, okay, so that's a decent look, maybe a better look than what the pop vinyl provides us of Dr. Fate. I'm still like, you know, I get what they were going for with the helmet. I think the armor looks amazing, don't get me wrong, but I still... This is like where I'm a bit different with the white eyes situation on Batman. I want the white eyes on Dr. Fate. I think he would have looked even better, but I'm not going to complain really because it does look great. But yeah, I think, guys, that just about wraps up today's news roundup. So, quite a few topics. I'm sorry if I missed out on something that I just somehow didn't pick up on to talk about, but already this video was getting to quite a length. If you want to see more news roundups like this, I will be including other topics as well, maybe like Dune, because that started filming, the sequel for Dune. Also, maybe other things like Avatar, The Way of Water and whatnot. But if you just in general want to see more news roundup videos of my little tidbit info dumps and opinions and everything on the latest stuff going on in the pop culture news, let me know, because you guys let me know last time and that really helped inform me make this video. So if you got this far, let me know also by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate that. If you're brand new and you got this far, well, definitely subscribe. I'll be keeping these up. If you want to check out some more of me, you can do so on social media. The links, as always, are in the description down below to Discord, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of the DC multiverse, I guess, in the next video. Goodbye.